Starring Bela Day in... But Ma, that's my favorite movie. Oh, well, all right. But don't you spend too much time in front of that TV, do you hear me? Yes, Ma. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope today is treating you well on whichever day that you are currently listening to this podcast, okay? We normally come out on Thursdays, but, whenever you have the time to listen to it, whichever day that may be. So, welcome to another episode of my podcast, But Ma, That's My Favorite Movie. Actually, let me bring that back. But Ma, that's my favorite movie. I swear every time I think of my title, it gives me like this retro vibe. Yeah. All right. So before we do get any further today, of course, you know how it goes. I want to thank my listeners. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back time and time again, especially if you have listened to all the episodes or if you've, listened to some that you found interesting, because you know how it can be. But you are a real one, period. I appreciate you. And if you are a new listener, well, then welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And you are definitely in for a treat today. And we hope that treat keeps you coming back for more. So today's episode is titled, But Ma, That's Death Becomes Her. So we have done 2 other episodes similar to this, where basically I highlight a movie that I really enjoy, okay? And Death Becomes Her is definitely one of those movies, okay? We are creeping to the end of September. Happy Halloween Eve, or Happy Hallows Eve. I saw something on Facebook that had said that the whole month of September should be Halloween Eve, and I agree. You know how you can submit a day for like whatever you want it to be, and it can possibly be that. That's why we have all these ridiculous days like Donut Day and just so many different days that can, fall on, any time during the month. So you can actually do that. But maybe we should definitely petition for that. What do y'all think? But anyways, I decided to do this particular movie because we are getting close to the end of September. And I just wanted to, kind of ease into the spooky season mood, because let me tell you this, my favorite season is fall. My favorite holiday is Halloween. Shout out to my sister Ambi, because we both share that. Oh, and our little sister Raven too. We love us some Halloween, scary movies, witches, potion, spells, Halloween costumes, and candy, and everything spooky and scary, and just all that good stuff, okay? So this movie is considered a dark comedy / fantasy, which is perfect because, that's what Halloween is about, fantasy. You could pretty much be whatever you want that one day, right? And so this movie just feels perfect to do around this time. And also, this movie is really in a league of its own, and it has a brilliant cast. I mean, this is a really good movie. I enjoy this movie. This movie also carries nostalgia for me. This could have easily fell into the nostalgic episode, but this is one movie I feel as though it deserves its own highlight. You know what I mean? All right, we're going to go ahead and just get straight into the summary, and we're going to do what we typically have done the other episodes, but I'm going to do something a little different. So if you are a first-time listener, you are really going to enjoy this episode. All right, so here goes our well, no, it's not synopsis. We don't shorten this at all, honey. We pretty much go through the whole dang on movie. So we have Madeline Ashton, who is played by Meryl Streep. She is an actress, and she is starring in this musical called Songbird that is based on the Tennessee Williams Sweet Bird Youth, but it's not going well. People are hating it. They are literally leaving the performance. Like the musical, there's no intermission, nothing stopped. People are literally leaving the show because they think it's terrible. Now, I don't know what Sweet Bird Youth, what that is about, that book or play. And I probably sound really ignorant saying that, but it seems like whatever they did with that musical, they absolutely hated that adaptation. So it's not doing very well. Definitely not getting rave reviews. So Helen, who's played by Goldie Hawn, comes to this performance to see Madeline because they are actually childhood friends. Now, Helen's fiance is with her, and his name is Ernest, who is played by Bruce Willis. Now, he is a plastic surgeon, and he is mesmerized by Madeline, okay? He is just so enthralled with her, like he can't get his eyes off of her. And Helen is peeping. She's peeping what he's putting down, or she's peeping what he's looking at. And she's kind of weary and kind of concerned because she sees how mesmerized he is by her. So they do end up going backstage, and Helen introduces her husband Ernest to Madeline, and instantly it looks like they have a little spark going on. So it isn't just one-sided. It looks like Dr. Ernest here, it has some eyes for Madeline, and you can tell instantly this worries Helen. She's just kind of like, this is not looking good. So then after that, I guess this is, a couple days later, the next scene, we go into where we see Dr. Ernest at work. He's doing surgery, typical, work day, just doing his job. And all of a sudden he gets a knock on the door, right? And it is Madeline. She came up to his job with 2 glasses and champagne. Okay, first of all, he's a doctor. He can't be drinking while he's at work. But to celebrate what? Why is she going up there? So then we hop to the next scene where Helen is upset. And one thing we learned about Helen is when she's triggered or when she's upset, she has this cloth or this handkerchief. There's this, this type of cloth that she pulls on when she gets really upset, right? So she's pulling on this cloth, and she's basically telling him that I brought you around her to basically test your loyalty to me, because apparently Madeline steals all of her men from her. And so she figured, if I just get it out the way, because I'm friends with her, if I show him her, if he does not fall for her, then he'll be the one for me, right? And Dr. Ernest tries to let her know, you have nothing to worry about. I'm with you. Just don't worry. And then we go to the next scene where he gets married to Madeline. So he dips out on Helen real quick. Okay. He jumped ship super quick, and he deserted Helen. And this was exactly what she thought would happen. And at that point, if he doesn't want to be with you no more, what can you do? All right, we fast forward 7 years later, okay? Now, one thing I forgot to mention is we are told that Helen is an aspiring writer. And I'm guessing she's kind of like indie, or maybe in the works of creating something, or maybe having trouble creating anything. We don't really go into details about it, but we know that she wants to be a writer. So 7 years later, we see her overweight, and she's basically the cat lady, okay? She has multiple cats in her apartment, and she's way bigger than we saw her 7 years ago. And she is basically hung up on the idea of Madeline taking her man from her, okay? And she becomes obsessed with Madeline. I added a T there. There shouldn't be no T. Obsessed with Madeline, okay? And we see that, well, we hear because the landlord starts banging on her door, trying to tell her, like, this is your last eviction notice. You have to get out of the apartment. He keeps trying to, like, yell through the door, trying to get her to open the door. But she ends up watching this clip of Madeline get strangled, and she keeps rewinding it back and rewinding it back and rewinding it back and keeps watching it in enjoyment because, of course, she is so upset with Madeline that that's all she thinks about all day, every day, right? So they do end up breaking into her apartment, and she ends up getting sent to a psych ward, okay? And at this psych ward, she once again has a crazy obsession with Madeline, and she, at one point, like, they have like this little group meeting. I don't want to go into details with it, but she's not showing any progress of getting over Madeline, because that's all she wants to talk about. And so the psychologist, like, tells her, you need to eliminate her from your mind. Or she says in some way, she uses the word eliminate. And immediately that sparks an interest in Helen. And she's like, you're right. So, of course, her mind is thinking something completely different than what the psychologist was suggesting to her, okay? Because the psychologist does not suggest to go out and kill people, okay? All right, so then we fast forward 7 more years later. 7 more years later. Okay, so now we are looking at Madeline's life. She is still married to Ernest. Of course, she is a bit older, because at this point, this is 14 years later from when we originally saw her. Now, it's very obvious at this point that love don't live here no more. Madeline and Ernest are not the lovebirds we saw before, okay? They have definitely left the honeymoon stage. And they kind of just throw digs at each other, and they just don't seem very happy. But when we do see Madeline after all this time, it turns out that she's been invited to a book release party that Helen is throwing. And her book is titled Forever Young. Okay? And Madeline, I'm assuming they've seen each other within this 14 years. And so the last time Madeline saw Helen, she was overweight. So she's like, she's overweight. I have nothing to worry about with her, whatever. But still, at the same time, we know that, well, you don't know yet, but Madeline is very obsessed with her appearance and the way she looks. And she definitely does wish that she was a lot younger than what she is, okay? Now, also, Ernest, he is no longer a plastic surgeon. And I think that has a lot to do with the way they treat each other, because Ernest is now a mortician. And he's good at what he does, but he's not happy with it. And it does not get explained as to why he had to leave his previous profession of being a plastic surgeon. I don't know why. They don't explain that. But yeah, you can tell he's just really not happy with his new career path. And Madeline is insecure, and she does wish she was once her youthful self, okay? So since knowing about this invite that she has to Helen's book release, which of course she's going to go to, she goes to this clinic, right, to get a plasma separation. And to be honest, I'm not sure. I've donated plasma before, but I'm not sure what a plasma separation would do for you. But she wants it, and apparently, I guess it helps with her skin. Maybe it tightens her skin. It makes her look youthful, because that is literally what Madeline cares about, is about looking young, beautiful, vibrant, tight, you know. So that's what she wants, okay? She's trying to buy her youth back if she can. So when she goes to this clinic, she's trying to get this plasma separation. The nurse, Anna, who is played by Michelle Johnson, she makes it clear that the policy is that the patients can only get that done every 6 months. Okay. And Madeline is just like, it's almost been that amount of time. Like, I should be able to get it done. And the nurse reminds her, you just got that done 3 weeks ago. Like, girl, you were nowhere near 6 months to be getting this done again. So then this guy appears.